market research will help you to identify which platforms your target audience uses more frequently. Is this Google? Is this Facebook? Is this like affiliation? Is this programmatic ads, right? So you need to understand where is your audience.
You're listening to 15-Minute Mastery, a show that empowers you with insights from leading iGaming experts to enhance your personal or business performance. The show is brought to you by the AI-powered data analytics platform Blask and supported by tech-driven affiliate and media company Already Media, Lala Stars, the leading casino partnership program, and Next.io, the world's iGaming community.
Hello and welcome back to 15-Minute Mastery. Today is our second of 3 episodes exploring how to win the market share game in iGaming. For part 2, we're focusing on how to leverage market research for effective marketing and media planning. Welcome back, Dima.
Hey, John.
Okay, so first question. Once a company has gathered market research data, how should they start translating that into a marketing strategy?
Right. I think identifying key insights and really getting the key insights all the way from all the data gathered is probably the step number one. Understanding what are the key assumptions you kind of gathered, like customer preferences, for example, some behavioral patterns, some market trends, etc. So I think this is the step number one where you need to get the most valuable pieces of information away from everything you got. I think number two, I'm a big fan of, this like 4 P's of marketing, then they became 6 P's. Probably nowadays these are like 25 P's, but I think it all starts with the target audience, right? So, understanding your audience and using the data you gather to segment the audience based on their demographics data, behavioral patterns, like game preferences. This is probably the most important bit because you cannot start any acquisition campaigns without understanding whom you want to acquire. And then probably you need to set up all the clear objectives, right? And align your marketing strategy with the business goals because, this could be, customer acquisition, this could be retention, this could be brand awareness, because let's say you're in the market for a while and you've never done any market researches, right? So then you do the research and you understanding, okay, we need to retain more, we need to invest into brand awareness more, etc. So I think at that point, sometimes you need to treat market research as an opportunity to be able to change a rhythm of your company in the market and to be able to extract additional value from the market. So I think the first episode, we had a chat more about the go-to-market kind of strategy and the use of the market research. But I think the market research is very undervalued for the companies which are there in the market. And sometimes, even if you're like top 10 in the market, you might not be able to extract now the value of the market without the proper understanding of your target audience. So I think the last one will be for me here is you really need to develop and tailor a message because I think the iGaming and all the products are way too commodified. So everyone got the same content, the same games, same everything. And I think, crafting marketing messages which will resonate with the target segments which you've identified and ensuring that they address specific needs of the target audience and the preference which you've identified through the research is probably one of the most important steps which you need to take because, as I mentioned, I feel like gaming is a way too commodified and you really need to stand out from the crowd, and this could be your brand and your voice.
Okay, perfect. So taking it one step further, how does market research inform media planning decisions? And can you give us some specific examples?
Mm-hmm. I think the easiest one here to start with is the channel selection. So just market research will help you to identify, which platforms your target audience uses more frequently, right? Is this Google? Is this Facebook? Is this like affiliation? Is this programmatic ads, right? So you need to understand where is your audience, which you identified in the first step. So second will be the budget allocation. How much money you need to spend in each of these specific channels. Also based on the insights, how much money other companies are spending in their highest performing, highest spending channels. And then obviously timing and frequency, right? So when you need to go live with your ads, is this like sports advertising? Is this casino advertising? Like when you need to broadcast it, right? So you need to understand how frequently you need to broadcast your message. And I think, for example, like you ask about some specific ones, right? So if your market is, for example, very mobile driven, everyone is sitting and using the apps, you need to have an app in the store, which you're going to be start to heavily promoting, let's say, close to a start of a new tennis game, right? Which you understand that, is number one sport in the market. So this is the example where you might find a channel, you might understand the timing, you might understand how much money and budget you need to allocate to this specific channel, right? And yeah.
Great, perfect. So, in your vast experience, and it is vast, you've spent a lot of time marketing in this industry. What are the most valuable insights from market research when it comes to customer acquisition and also retention?
Uh-huh. I think probably customer preferences number one. Like understanding what drives players to choose specific games or promotions will help you to tailor your acquisition strategies. Like, is your bonus competitive enough? Is your message clear enough? Is the audience ready for that message, etc.? And what kind of games the audience is preferring in this market? So I think customer preferences is probably the most valuable one. Number two for me will be churn and churn risk factors, probably because I think we are as an industry are way too focused on acquiring users and not really thinking how to retain them. So identifying the reasons why players stop using the platforms will allow you to target them with retention campaigns, some more personalized offers with, new games, new sports seasons coming, etc. So I think this is probably number two. And I think, promotions, I mentioned this previously, like what kind of bonus you need to use, when to use this bonus, what kind of, sports promotions you want to run. If you're really rich on the product end, maybe you can advertise some like free to play products as well. So I think this is very important. And probably the last one will be the customer journey, like understanding, where your user is and, which platforms the user is engaging with and which touch points you need to use throughout his journey map to be able to optimize your marketing spend and efforts towards both acquisition and retention efforts.
Mm-hmm. And you've spoken about lots of different aspects that allow you to segment an audience. But how do you use the market research to identify and target different player segments effectively?
Right. I think demographics is probably the most important one. I think I remember I had a chat with my friends from Germany like 3 or 4 years back, and they said we see that in casino segment the percentage of the women audience is growing dramatically, right? And at the same time nowadays, right? I hear some people are not even targeting women, for example, right? And it's still male 18 years old plus, right? So I think demographics is probably the most crucial of all. Understanding, age, location, other demographics factors of your audience. The number two for me will be always behavioral segmentation. Which games they interact with, frequency of their play, spending habits, right? So I think behavioral patterns probably the most important bit. Number two, interest based targeting. So I think it's quite similar to games, but I kind of put more here about emotions bit, right? So what kind of interests are driving them to be interacting with casinos, not just games, but like deep motivation, like escaping from reality or spending some good time, raising the emotions bar higher, for the sports fans, etc. So I think interests number three. And probably, I mean, I mentioned the location on the demographic bit, but sometimes locations and targeting some specific regions could be a key part, because you might be targeting the region where people, they just simply don't care about some kind of sports, right? If taking India, for example, some regions are not these kind of a big fans of a cricket than the rest of the country, right? And in some states, football is dominating as the main sport, right? So targeting them with a cricket ad might not be a good idea.
Can you share some tangible examples of how market research has led to a particularly successful marketing campaign or media strategy from your experience?
Right. I think localized campaigns, any market, any sport, is probably the biggest example of all. Talking about like specific example, I will give you one a little bit later, but I think just to give you like a direction of your thinking, this could be state level, this could be city level, in any country, in any sport, where you might find fans of any specific club predominantly in a specific region or a city. UK could be one of these examples where you don't want to target, London fans with, some of the Liverpool's ads, right? Especially aggressively, might not be the right one. So, coming up with things like this could be even, going on a more specific level, right? In London, how many clubs you got? And if you advertise a Spurs game to Arsenal fan and vice versa, this could lead to a brand damage. So I think this is where you really need to understand more about the audience, their preferences, their behavioral patterns. Another one very beautiful example, and I'm a big fan, is 32 Red and their very old, I think 2020 something year old campaign, which I believe was led by Matt Booth. And I think, these guys, they did a great job of localizing their brand, because they did a market research, they understood the market needs. They figured out a few sports. I think they went all the way into boxing, all the way into like local niche sports like darts, pool, etc. And they've came up with a very beautiful execution where you really need to go and target ads on social media. You need to identify local influencers which are popular and big in this sport. So I think the first step is to understand how your localized campaign should look like, whom to target, etc., and then just understand through which mediums you need to deliver.
Okay, perfect. So one thing you've been super, super clear on is that this isn't a one and done thing, right? Market research needs to evolve and it needs to be updated. So, how often should companies in the industry be updating their market research to inform their marketing and media strategies?
I think knowing how fast-paced iGaming as an industry is, companies should regularly update their research. I think at least quarterly, but better monthly, especially in the growing markets, to keep up with the changing trends in the markets, to understand player behavioral shifts more, understand the new games and their impact on the markets, etc. So I think this should be continuous, at least once per quarter, better once per month. I think you always need to perform a pre-campaign assessments, like understand the market and doing like a little research before launching a very big marketing campaign. I think ad hoc updates is probably where you need to do a researches about some regulatory changes, which kind of user behavioral patterns they're affecting. Competition changes, a new brand entered the market, how fast it's growing, what kind of marketing channels this brand is using, how his product looks like, etc. And I think probably the last one and the most unique one here will be emergence of new technologies, right? So if someone launched a new brand in the market, is he using some new platform? Is he using some new marketing tools? Is he using some new affiliates? Is he using some cool games, funnels, whatever? So I think iGaming is probably not looking too much on that specific part, but this could be very undervalued.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's a wrap for part two. And in the coming week or so, part 3 will be available, where Dimitri will explore how to use this market research to shape the overall business strategy. So make sure you subscribe for that, and thanks a lot, Dima, for sharing your thoughts.
Always welcome.